Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, thank you for your service and being here today. Mr. Secretary, during the October government shutdown, the Treasury Department and the administration declared that there were about 90% of the Treasury's 15,009 IRS employees deemed to be non-essential, including nearly every staffer of the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network and the Office of Foreign Asset Control. The Treasury put out a statement bemoaning the state of affairs. It said, "This massively reduced staffing impairs OFAC's ability to execute terrorism, financial intelligence, broader efforts to combat money laundering and illicit finance, protect the integrity of the U.S. financial system, and disrupt the financial underpinnings of our adversaries." Let me read some statements put out by the Treasury. One on September 27 says that the Treasury assures to the public that in the unfortunate case of the lapse in appropriations, it will continue to provide certain critical functions. Among them, terrorism and financial intelligence offices will continue collection, analysis, and reporting of intelligence, as well as administration of the specially designated nationals. A little bit later, you put out another statement that said, "The Office of Foreign Asset Control, which implements the U.S. government's financial sanctions, has had to furlough nearly all of its staff due to the lapse in congressional funding, and it's unable to sustain its core functions." According to this press guidance, this massively reduced staffing, quotes, "for TFI offices undermines, quote, efforts to combat money laundering and illicit finance, protect the integrity of the U.S. financial system, and disrupt the financial underpinnings of our adversaries." Mr. Secretary, the Treasury kept top political appointees on the job during this time and declared them to be essential. At the same time, they furloughed almost every professional who is tasked with stopping the funding of terror and stopping people doing business with Iran's rogue regime. By that decision, those jobs were deemed non-essential. That troubles me deeply and leads to a few questions. First, how is preventing a terror attack on the U.S. and preventing Iran from developing a nuclear weapon non-essential? And what sort of jobs were more important than that?
Congressman, going back to October, I believe deeply then, I believe deeply now, that there were many bad consequences that came from the fact that there was that kind of brinksmanship and important things weren't happening because the government shut down. So that's just a consequence of shutting down the government. There were guidelines put out by the Office of Management and Budget that we adhered to in making the judgments. There are categories of employees who, because of their status, fall on one side of the line or the other. I can tell you that we brought back the staff that were needed to support the negotiations that were going on with regard to Iran. We had the capacity to do that, but there are consequences to shutting down the government, and you can't keep the whole government open when the government shuts down. So,
Mr. Secretary, let me ask you this, though. You made the statement September the 27th, in the lapse of appropriations, that these important functions related to the department regarding collecting analysis and reporting of intelligence would continue in the midst of the shutdown. What happened between the time of that statement and the subsequent statement that says that you would have massively reduced staffing?
So, you know, Congressman, during the days of the shutdown, at the beginning of the shutdown, there was not even a flow of intelligence information coming in because our intelligence operation was in the same position that our threat financing.
Mr. Secretary, in all due respect, it's clear that you kept political appointees intact. It's clear that you eliminated jobs of professionals whose assignment is to protect this country. And I think it's not clear to the American people of why you would make that type of decision.
Well, Congressman, we followed the guidelines of the Office of Managing Budget. We followed the rules and the law regarding these determinations. And the problem when you have the kind of confrontation that shuts down the government.
Mr. Secretary, my time is up, but what I'll say is you have two different statements here. One, that you would continue to fund it, and one that, and then later you did not.
Time of the gentleman has expired.